Today's Friday, October 16th, 2020, and today I'm thinking about Jesus Christ and how great of a speaker he was. And it often makes me think to Shakespeare because when you go to school, they try to tell you that Shakespeare is like the end all, be all of great writing. And I think that's a bunch of nonsense because reading Shakespeare is very tiresome and it takes a lot of effort to try to understand what's being said. And there's hundreds of footnotes. And if you look at a Shakespeare book, one of the plays, it's like half of the book is footnotes and margin notes. And the actual content, there's just not, it's like the same amount of content as there is this extra fluff that you need just to understand what's going on. And sure, the language that's used is kind of impressive sometimes, but I see the same exact thing when I read the King James Version of the Bible. I see the same thing, but only better. And it's one of those things where when people think of Jesus, typically, and this is how I was when I knew nothing about religion besides what TV told me and what phony pastors told me, I had no idea who Jesus was, and I just had those images in my mind of the rosy red cheeks and preachers that talk endlessly about love. And I was just amazed, and I continue to be amazed when I actually go and read Jesus's words, how great of an orator he was, and, way better than Shakespeare. And it's just not something that you hear people talk about. You don't really hear people talk about how Jesus is better than Shakespeare. And in that literary or orator sense, it's just not something that I personally ever heard people really talk about, how great of a speaker Jesus was. And I also picked this because, well, I love the Beatitudes. They are one of my favorite parts of the Bible, and I think it really showcases how great of a speaker Jesus was and is. Obviously, Jesus Christ is still alive today, up in heaven at the right hand of God. So let's just get into this. I also wanted to point out a 53 reference because I think a few videos ago, I don't remember how many, I was thinking about the number 53, and Isaiah 53 is an Old Testament reference to Jesus Christ. And I thought this was interesting how Matthew chapter 5, verse 3 is where the Beatitudes begin. And Matthew is the first book of the New Testament. So it's like it's a more important 53, really. The 5th chapter, 3rd verse of the New Testament is the Beatitudes. So I just thought that's an interesting connection. And for this video, I'm just going to read some. I'm not going to read all of it. I've done a video in the past on the Beatitudes. I'll check to see if it's up on this channel or not. And if not, I'll post it, I guess. And I'll link in the description if I find it. All right, let's begin. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him, and opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I just want to stop and talk about this verse because I take a different interpretation of this than a lot of people. I think most people read this and they think it's talking about the poor. But if Jesus was saying that the poor are blessed, I think that he just would have said, Blessed are the poor, and just ended there. But I think that he's saying that, like, poor in spirit, as opposed to rich in spirit. And I think of people that are rich in spirit as those phony plastic Christians that are, you can just tell that they're fake because they have this plastic smile on their face. And just a good example, somebody's given me an example before. They said that they knew this guy that said, praise Jesus, after literally everything that they said. It was like every statement that's, I'm going to the grocery store, praise Jesus, just that kind of thing. And that's what I think of as rich in spirit. The people who sit at the highest places, the people who are pastors and in the congregation, or not the congregation, in the, the hierarchy in the bishops and the Pope. I mean, these people just look evil. I think of the Pope as just another example of very rich in spirit. They try to pretend like they're this holy person. And you get a lot of rich in spirit of these Eastern people. You know, people that are very rich in spirit in like an Eastern religion way. They pretend like they're some sort of guru. That's what I read when I see poor in spirit. I think of people that are humble in their spirit, humble in their spirituality. They don't walk outside and talk as if they're the most important spiritual leader out there. So that's what I read. I don't read that, oh, poor people. And see, I don't even, what are they saying? That blessed are the poor in spirit. I even have a hard time interpreting it the way that most people do, which is they think that like poor people are blessed. But then what is blessed are the poor in spirit? So poor people are blessed in spirit? That just doesn't even really parse to me as something that makes sense. The only way that I can interpret this is Jesus is talking about people that have humility when it comes to their spirituality. They don't wear 15 crosses when they go outside and make everything out to be like they're so spiritual. They're humble about those things. Okay, I'm not going to talk that much about everything. I really connect with that first verse, and it's the very first verse of the Beatitudes, and I personally believe most people get it way wrong, the interpretation. Okay, continuing on. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you, and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely, for my sake. Rejoice, and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they, the prophets, which were before you. And I think these are really good verses and really good things to remember, because it sucks to be persecuted, and it sucks when people hate you for no reason. But it's a blessing. We're going through the same things that Jesus went through and that the prophets went through. And it really is a blessing. And all of this is going to not matter in the end anyways. We're going to forget a lot of this stuff. And remember that our life here is a finite number, and any finite number compared to infinity, compared to eternity with God in heaven, it's going to be meaningless. By the time we've spent 500 trillion compared Earth years in heaven, do you think that we'll even be able to remember back to all this nonsense happening right now? It's going to be so different. Continuing on. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? You know, if your salt doesn't have salty taste anymore, what the heck is the point of it? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. And that's something that comes up a lot, the people being trodden under feet. And this always makes me think of this idea. All these flavors, and you chose to be salty. When you go out there and you start calling out evil, and you're a big stick in the mud, and you're not going along with the satanic flow, people might call you like you're being salty. And it's just one of those things. It's not necessarily a bad thing to say, hey, I'm not going along with this. This is stupid. This is evil. This is demonic. And the world might call you salty for calling those things out. Continuing on. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Just here, I think, so poetic and beautiful speech by Jesus Christ, and I think it's something that people don't think about a lot, how great of an orator Jesus Christ was. Jesus didn't spend all his time sitting there writing out what he was going to say. He would simply just start speaking. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. And here I want to point out that one of the things that bugs me more than anything is people bashing on good works. once you realize the truth, you should want to go do good works. And that's totally different than thinking that doing good works will get you to heaven. That I liken to people who are like, well, I donate 10% of my income to poor people, therefore I should go to heaven. That's not it at all. But what it is once you know the truth, once you know about Jesus Christ, once you're living your life for God, good works should be coming from that. And anybody out there that is bashing good works, I believe is just a snake. Why would anybody try to bash good works? Of course we should do good things. Ye shall know them by their fruits, and fruits are works. So how do you expect to get to heaven if you have nothing to show for it? It's, if you know about this, there's a difference between things being necessary and things being sufficient. And I believe that good works are one of those things where good works are not sufficient to get into heaven because we need Jesus Christ. But good works are necessary. Your life can't be totally void of good works and get into heaven. That's not how it works. So there is this idea of, people get this logic confused sometimes. There's the difference between a necessary condition and a sufficient condition. And good works are not sufficient to get into heaven because you need to follow God, follow Jesus Christ, and live your life for God, and God needs to be your number one. That's what you need. So good works alone is not sufficient, but I believe they are necessary. I don't think you can get into heaven without any good works. And Jesus talks about good works in a good way. So anybody out there that's bashing good works, they're going against what Jesus said. And I think often those people are speaking Paul. Paul is a snake. I do not support Paul. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So we're supposed to listen to what Jesus told us, we're supposed to do those things that Jesus told us, and we're supposed to preach the gospel, preach what Jesus said. Not what men said, not what your pastor told you. Go to the source. Go to what Jesus Christ himself, the Messiah, said. That is the most important. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So here again, pastors, they love preaching these really easy things. They love telling people once saved, always saved, really easy versions of salvation. But notice that they're talking out of their mouth. They're hot air. They're making up their own ideas. That's not what Jesus said. Where did Jesus say once saved, always saved? Why are all these people out there saying these things that Jesus never said? And what Jesus was saying is harder and it takes more effort. You can't just say, oh, well, I believe in Jesus, so I'm saved. I can go do whatever with my life. That's obviously not how it works. So, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in the danger of judgment. So here, I'm skipping some verses now. I'm not going to go through the whole Beatitudes because I have a video on that already. But I just wanted to show that Jesus came and said, well, I'm not here to destroy the law. And then he even gives us harder conditions. He goes on and says, it's not only that you're just not supposed to kill people, you're not supposed to have anger in you. You're not supposed to be angry against your brother. You're supposed to be forgiving of people. So Jesus came in and actually gave us stronger conditions for commandments of what we need to do. So now I'm skipping forward a little bit, I believe. Ye have heard that it was said of them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. And again, here, Jesus gives us an even harder condition. No, it's not just that you're not supposed to commit adultery. You're not supposed to have that in your heart. You're not supposed to look longingly at another woman. If God blessed you with a wife, that's it. You're supposed to only look at that. You're not supposed to even look at another woman with lust in your heart. And just these, it shows you how important and how, I think it's one of those things, sometimes I feel numb a little bit and desensitized, and I forget how big this is. This is huge. It's amazing. We are so blessed. I know that it's really terrible and painful to live in these times, but we're actually really blessed to live in these end times because we see all the signs. All the signs are there for us. Imagine if you were born 100 years ago where the sun wasn't shining brighter and the moon wasn't shining brighter. They still had to deal with all this evil stuff. So we really do live in a very blessed generation in that the Satanism has gone so over the top. It's like you would have to be so blind to not see it nowadays. So in that way, we are really blessed. And just verses like this remind me how serious this is. Jesus is not joking here. If thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. If you just can't handle your eyes and your eyes are always looking at wickedness, and let's just say your right eye is always being lustful, Jesus is telling you to rip that thing out. Because so what? You live your life without one of your eyes, but you're going to go to heaven now. Just verses like this, they remind me how important this stuff is. Eternity, life for eternity in heaven with God. Just wow, I can't wrap my mind around it, and it's so important, and it's more important than anything could ever be here. And so that's what these verses remind me of. And this too is a meme in the media that they love having. You know, Doctor Strangelove with the guy with the hand that he has no control over that hand. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off. If you can't stop your right hand from doing evil things, Jesus is telling you to literally cut that thing off, because it's better for you to not be doing those evil things, because then you'll get to go to heaven. And so it's better to just chop your own arm off if you can't handle it. If you literally have no control over your arm and it keeps doing evil things, it's better to just, boom, chop it off, because now you actually have a chance of going to heaven because you're not going to continue sinning. And here's just another thing that I love, where Jesus gives us a harder version of laws. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oaths. And notice how this is, so it's like, I guess in times past, they used to think that it meant more to swear, you know, people, oh, I swear to God type thing. But Jesus is saying, no, you're not even supposed to do that. And so I skip some verses. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. You're not supposed to take any oaths. You're not supposed to swear upon anything. People love to swear upon their mother and things like that. And no, you're just supposed to, our communication is supposed to be straightforward. Yes, no. You're supposed to say what you mean what you say the truth, and nothing but the truth, and leave it at that. I think I'll just end here because, like I said, I've done a whole video on the Beatitudes before. I'll make sure it's posted, or if not, I'll post it and leave a link. And I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless everyone.